You already know what it's going to be. It's going down in a few more seconds. Valencia Real Podcast. Let's go.
What's up, fam? It's your boy, Dr. Mike, and it's almost that time to get real, raw, and relatable. Looking forward to talking to y'all soon. Peace.
What's up, everybody? It's your boy Terrence. Welcome back to another season of Relentlessly Real Podcast. So excited to have you all back. We got a lot of great stuff. Check us out.
You're now listening to The Real.
Man, I appreciate them dudes for talking about
The Raw.
Wait, they were talking about
The Relatable.
That's exactly what I've been going through.
The Relentlessly Real Podcast.
Welcome. Welcome to the Valencia Real Podcast, where we discuss real, raw, and relatable topics. Thank you so much for taking the time to listen to our podcast today. Let's kick this off with some introductions. My name is John.
My name's Mike.
And I'm halfway asleep. I'm not even gonna lie.
Well, that's stupid because you need to be awake for this episode because it's going to be a doozy. It's going to be a good one. I actually have a lot of things that I'm excited to talk about on this here podcast today. So wake your A-double L all up.
What?
Wake your all up. No, wake up, bro. Anyway, guys, thank you so much for whoever is going to tune into the podcast today. It's gonna be a good one. We have a couple of things that we definitely want to talk about. And Terrence, man, I can't wait to get into what you have as the next flick and chill for today. But we're not gonna get there yet. We're gonna start with something before we get there. And I have a question. I have a couple of good questions of the day, and I'm not gonna lie. I hope it has some great conversation after it.
I got one too, by the way, but keep going.
Don't you dare interrupt my segment of the
question. One.
I don't know what.
I got a good one.
No, you have a good one. What?
I got a good question. I got a good question.
Okay, well, right now, see, guys, this is what happens. You do all this preparation, and these Negroes come on here. Here we go. Question of the day: is it important to know what people think about you, and how much should it impact how you live your life? Is it important to know what people think about you, and how much should it impact how you live your life?
See, this is tricky.
I know it is.
And the reason why is I don't think it's too much for me that it's what people think about you. But I do think people live in denial, like they live in denial about who they're giving off themselves to be.
Mm-hmm.
And so I think what is important is who you want yourself to be shown to be, that you show that.
Mm-hmm.
Movie quote fan, like, it's like the Dark Batman Begins. It's not if you've seen that film, he always says, it's not who you are underneath that defines you, but what you do.
Mm-hmm.
And so you betray yourself to be someone who's kind, but you just mean as AF to everybody you're around. Right. So at that point, it's not, they just think I'm mean. No, you're rude. Like,
you're rude. Right.
Legit, you're an a-hole. Like,
yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And so I think that's the part where I'm like, make sure like who you believe yourself to be and who you want to be, that you are that person. And you try to show that consistently. And the last thing I say, I actually saw I've been going to church.
Oh my God, really?
You've been going to church?
Jesus.
Praise the Lord.
He doesn't.
Go
ahead. I'm sorry. You're right.
The guy said something so dope the other day. He said that like your strongest desire is not always your deepest desire. And I was like, what? Like, that don't make sense to me. Like, your strongest desire, which is not always your deepest. And so what you really want is not always the strongest thing that shows up. And like that don't make sense to me. Because whatever I want the most is better show up. And he showed reasons how that's not true. Like say you with your wife and your wife just ticked you off and just pissed you off and shit, and like everything in you right now wants to curse her clean out.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And so that's the strongest desire. But the deepest thing is that's not who you want to be. And that's not how you want to come off to your wife. So even though that's the strongest pull at the moment and that's the strongest feeling at the moment, it's not the deepest thing that's really inside of you. And
I would have worded it different because I've actually heard that quote worded differently, and something to the effect of, "It's about what you want right now versus what you want most."
I heard it too, but when he was just, I forgot the scripture he used, but he was just saying how like we saw how we are like kind of governed sometimes by the flesh, and you're always warned against the flesh, and that's the flesh can be really really strong. But it's not really what's like it shouldn't be the deepest part.
It's not at the core of like what you.
It shouldn't be,
Yeah,
and so a lot of times, going back to what your question is, like if I think if people are only seeing the strongest part of you or whatever it is, at some point I'm like, all right, well that's who you are, like that's who you are. It's not what we think. Nah, bro, that's you, and then you gotta take at that point decide, well, dang, I'm giving that off, and I don't want to give that off. So move differently. You know?
Okay. Hey, so my opinion on the question is more so like it reminds me of like if you're a celebrity, right? And at that point, it would matter what people think of you because you are your asset at the end of the day, right? Your reputation and all of that is your asset. Think of you as like somebody that's not trustworthy or somebody that they don't want to invest in, then that's affecting your bag. So yeah, at that point, yes, you have to care about what other people think about you in order to stay relative, in order to, continue to make money at the end of the day. So I just wanted to kind of present that.
Yeah, that's good. I agree.
That's a good thought. What about the part of, is it important to know what people think about you? Do you think it's important for them to tell you what they think about you, or is it important for you to know?
No, I didn't even read that, John.
I see that because I missed this clear pass the first part.
I think you should have bolded. I think you should have bolded that.
I think you should have just read it because you're a teacher or you was one in life. So
man, we gotta read.
All right. Is it important to know what people think about you? Because to know what people think about you.
Yes. So going back to what Terrence was saying about like, talking from a perspective of a Christian, right? And who we live for now in reference to living for Christ, dying to ourselves. If we don't know that we're, I guess, expressing Christ in a certain manner, right? Where it's reflective according to like how God wants us to portray Christianity or how God wants us to portray like righteousness or whatever the case. If somebody was to say something to us and say, hey, you should consider this, or you know what, that was really a sucky thing that you did the other day, or like, you know what I'm saying, like for them to present that to you, for you to know that you have to take some sort of introspection to say, okay, is this really a me thing, or is this just a you thing? Like, are you just coming at me because you had a bad day, or is this something that I really need to be checking for myself? Ultimately, like, is this how I want to represent Christ? Right. So in that vein, yes, I think it is somewhat important to know what people think of you, and should it impact the way you live? Yes. Yeah, I do.
And I mean, even outside of that, like if I'm thinking we cool and you don't like me. So
yeah, because your opinion about me could be biased, right?
Yeah. I'm sitting there, I'm thinking like we friends and we cool and everything with us is Gucci, and then lo and behold, you hate my guts. Like that will allow me to move differently. It doesn't really matter whether I care. Like I can even care about the friendship, but not care about the friendship, but I can move differently knowing that deep down inside you really don't like John. I don't like him really. So like, I think a lot of times he
how did
thinks.
this even get?
A lot of times John thinks he's
Wait a
like, you know what I'm saying, Mike? A lot of times
No,
John
no, no.
thinks
For
that
sure.
we.
For sure.
Why are you? What's
and
going
really,
on?
He's,
I was just minding my business, listening
he's
to you
a
talk.
horrible person. Like
He is such a sucky person, man.
Like
Yeah.
that bus just came quick and ran over me. I was sitting here like, yeah,
Backed
that's
up, rolled over
that's a
again,
really
right.
good point. And the next thing you know, I get slammed right into the wall. But no, I think that to your point, I think it's important to know what people think about me or us. Because I think it helps to know how you're being portrayed, and how and whether you're on track, right, for who you're trying to be in life and become in life. I think so. I think those things are important. I think it's dangerous though sometimes too, because I'm thinking back to when I used to be like years ago, guys. I used to be like a choir director or whatever. For a Towson University, and there was often times where I would say a thing in the middle of choir verse, and they'd be like, "Oh my God, John, that came across so harsh. You're so rude. You're so mean." And so, in my intent of what I said was not to be mean or rude, but the delivery of it maybe didn't translate correctly. So those type of things are like knowing what I intended to say versus what I actually said, and how people received what I said, even though I didn't mean it that way. All things being considered, that was important. So that was one. I'm sorry. Go ahead, Mike.
Another. So kind of doubling back to what Terrence said about like moving differently. I just thought about that. Like, I don't necessarily want to be around people that got like bad intentions for me or like hate towards me or something like that. Right.
Yeah.
So I would like the worst type of enemy to have is the one that you don't know. So, or don't know that they're an enemy of yours. Right. So you can have somebody smiling in your face all day, but they got ill intent. You know what I'm saying? They, hey man, you drive a nice car. That's what's up.
Yeah.
Let's go hang out for lunch or something like that. Now he's scoping out your vehicle. He's scoping out your route. He's scoping out where you live. You know what I'm saying? Like people just got ill intent, bro.
Mike,
so I need to know.
I don't know.
That's what I'm trying to tell John right now. Like, I don't like him. And I think he thought we were cool, but like deep down inside,
this is ridiculous.
I don't like him. Like,
so. I didn't know this is. Yeah, that's unnecessary. It doesn't need to be said again.
So if John's BMW missing tomorrow, we know why.
Last question I have for you guys today, and I'm moving on out of this because clearly it's going to be hurtful towards me. The question is: should you ever become comfortable in dating or in marriage?
Absolutely not.
So you say no. So the reason, I got to give pretext to this question. I met up with a friend of mine, and in that we talked about extensively, like how sometimes in marriage we like people get comfortable, and that comfortableness is like supposedly, especially on the woman's side, it's a good thing. It's actually like a goal to reach that level of comfortability where you feel it's almost like a layer of vulnerability that's also linked to comfortability. We like, because I'm so comfortable with you means that I am revealing a side of me that you have not seen, or it's just, so it's a kind of sense of like I can relax now, right? And so the question kind of was formed from that: is it okay to become comfortable in a marriage or in dating?
I think that comfortability needs to be like, that's too broad.
It could go both ways. Comfortability can go in the negative in reference to like not wanting to take care of yourself anymore, not wanting to show yourself in a certain light to say like, hey, I want to, as my wife's talking to me, it's like, oh yeah, I want to put on some makeup or something like that, dress nice or whatever the case, to keep it spicy. Or, if we go out on a date, I don't want you to wear sweatpants and a hoodie. You feel me? Mm-hmm. Like I want to see you in something nice.
Well, that's all she's got, Mike.
That ain't going to be all she got because I'm buying her what she going to wear.
First of all, what's wrong with you, Terrence? Are you relaxed today? Like, what's happening?
I'm just challenging.
Good Lord.
Okay. I was playing devil's advocate. I agree with Mike. I was playing devil's advocate. Like,
It's not all
hey, so one thing, man, I really hate when you say that. Playing devil's advocate. I'm just going to put that out there.
Say more about that.
Yeah, because playing devil's advocate as far as, again, us being Christians, followers of Christ, and knowing that that's the enemy of God, right? Knowing that the devil is the enemy of God and saying that, like actually voicing that to say, oh, I'm being the advocate of the enemy. Like, it's just, it comes off weird, bro.
Oh, the phrase comes off weird.
Yeah. I know your heart. Like, I know your heart. I know your life. But at the same time, just be careful about the things you say.
Y'all did pretty much say I was shocked. I went to church.
Okay. Any other thoughts on should you ever become comfortable in marriage or dating? We're gonna move this right along. Do you have any thoughts, Terrence? Or are you good?
I agree with Mike. I just feel like it depend. I agree with what you said about comfortability being. I agree. Like the issue of like you are kind of relaxed and you are like I don't have to be so guarded anymore. You know, I don't want comfortability to be end up being. I don't still have to impress. I don't want to say impressed. I don't need no longer need to worry about pleasing my spouse or because they're not going anywhere. And I'm not even talking about like even in that, like you talk about even like a job. Like people get comfortable at work, so I don't got to impress my boss anymore. Like like I'm relaxed, and it's just like, oh, I don't got to work as hard anymore, and that's what I don't want because sometimes comfortability can mean I don't have to work as hard because this job's not going anywhere, or like even we're in friendships, like I don't really gotta like spend that much time. I can get comfortable like that friend's not going anywhere. They call me. I'll call them back next week, like whatever it was. And like, I just think in any type of relationship, you should be like still continue to nurture the relationship.
Comfortability in reference to vulnerability, but not comfortability in reference to like
stagnant
laziness or
laziness. Right.
I agree. And I agree with T's reason. He was like, "Yo, it's a very broad. Comfortable can be positive or negative depending on the scenario of how you're using that word within a certain dynamic of relationship, right? So it could be a good thing, and that's what made me think about. I was like, oh, it could be a good thing to be comfortable because a lot of times, a lot of relationships are striving for a sense of comfort. They're striving towards every relationship is striving towards that sense of like I don't have to put on because everyone starts off putting on so many facades. That when you finally come back to taking away all the facades and getting to the like, oh, I'm relaxed. Oh, I'm all of who I am with this person. That makes you feel like, man, I'm more connected to that person because of that. I feel more like this person knows me and I don't have to hide because a lot of it's just like hiding. A lot of dating, I feel like, especially in the first couple of months, maybe even years, is like, oh, I don't want to show this part of me because I don't want her to like, not feel me. I don't want to show that part of me because I don't want her to be disgusted by it. So you're hiding. And so when you finally get to that sense of comfort, you're like, oh, this is great. She sees all of who I am and still like receives me. But then the other side of the pendulum is when you get so comfortable that you don't give a crap anymore. And then that's what we're talking about on the other end of it.
And that's why I would flip it. Like not to flip the question. Do you think it's okay to be too comfortable at the beginning of a relationship?
Actually,
so like, what if you just don't comfortable though? Like, what if you just don't like I agree with John. I think a lot of dating and meeting is a facade. So what if you just don't even have the facade? You just literally show 100% of who you are at the beginning.
I think showing 100% of who you are in the beginning shows a deeper understanding of self. Because the person that I am now versus the person I was 10 years ago, the 10-year-old person, 10 years ago person, I'm just say, was the person that would have like hid. But the person that's like, all right, I'm 36 now. I move differently now, right? So I'm not as guarded. I'm less like I'm less worried about what people think because I'm like I'm more introspective about who I am and confident, right, about who I am versus the person that I was 10 years ago.
Yeah, I was literally talking to a friend of mine the other day about something like that. Excuse me, in reference to like being in our 30s and like just moving differently, like living unapologetically.
Whoa. Excuse me, Michelle. Relax. Okay. I am 36-year-old. Don't ever go. I got carded today. Ass also. So don't do that. Okay. They didn't know if I was 18 or not. 21
the youth is still there.
Shut your mouth, Terrence. Don't say nothing. Just go
they
back to sleep.
Everybody.
Go back to go back to sleep.
They card everybody.
Go back to sleep. Dr. Mike, I'm sorry. Continue, please.
No, so living unapologetically, right?
Yeah.
Like being your authentic self and like being okay with that. Not into the sense of like just out here just living and saying whatever you say out your mouth type thing with no regard for somebody else's feelings or emotions or whatever like that. That's not what I'm talking about. But like just being self-aware to the point where you understand like you and you're okay with expressing yourself. You know what I'm saying? In that regard. So
but some people's expression of themselves is that they kind of have no regard for Like I'm that person, like in a lot of spaces and ways. I mean,
And
I
that's
try
why
to be
we don't like
tactful.
you, Joe.
I am tired of you, and we're just 20 minutes in. Okay, ridiculous.
Stop it.
I'm just saying that's a part of certain people's makeup
That's
too.
true.
So it's like
Yeah.
it's not like it's always a
Not to have a
bad
filter.
negative, but it's just like some people feel that level of comfort.
Yeah.
You know,
That's true.
so
Some people don't have a filter.
yeah,
That's
okay.
true.
Yeah, I don't even know. I don't want to agree with Terrence anymore. I don't know what he's
No,
dragging me or if he's
No,
like,
I'm
that
saying,
was
I'm
that
agreeing.
was.
Some
I
some
think that
people
was
don't have a
legit.
filter.
yeah, he's like, some people just don't have any tact at all. Anyway,
Yeah.
guys, he's
I
like,
was talking about
Jesus,
you. You felt guilty.
I did.
Right.
I did.
You felt guilty.
Guys, we're gonna move right on to next flick and chill. Terrence, hit us with the next flick and chill for today, bro.
So, as I said, I think it might have been our last podcast. Best movie I seen this year by far was Top Gun, in my opinion. And that's not saying so much because I think movies this year have been whack. I was really excited to see this Predator movie. Even to the point where I started looking into the background of the girl who got chose. I was very curious as a historian about. I love the fact that it was a Native American background story, so it's actually a prequel to all the Predator movies. I actually went back and watched the original Predator. I don't care what anybody says. I think that movie is trash and overrated. My personal opinion. I'm
The
like, this
one with
movie's
Schwarzenegger?
Arnold. The one was this movie is
Yeah.
just not good. I'm like I get it might have been good back then. Some movies don't stand the test of time. That movie to me does not stand the test of time. So anyway, I watched this Prey, and I was very impressed with this movie, and I was even more impressed that it was straight on. It's available on Hulu right now. You don't even have to go to movie theaters to see it. It's called Prey. Shout out that just showed it to the director who directed 10 Cloverfield Lane. He's a good director, and I say it all the time. It's never the actor; it's always the director. I just thought this movie was really good. Not a 10 out of 10, maybe not even a 9 out of 10, but maybe an 8.5 out of 10. Or 8. I like this movie. So even if you're not like people, some people say I don't really do scary movie. I didn't think it was scary. And I'll give you guys a talk. I didn't think it was scary. I like the themes of woman empowerment that's behind it, and I like the special effects. I like that it's very character driven. It's not necessarily a movie about the Predator, which the other Predator movies that's kind of dropped out have kind of been. This movie was really about the heart of the main character and her tribe. It is loosely based off of a real Native American culture and their experiences, which I went back and fact checked, and it's really dope. So if you're looking for something to watch and it's you like to be entertained, you like action, you like adventure, you like nice, like solid story. I thought this movie was really good. I don't know if you guys had a chance to see it at all.
I
did.
I did. Yeah, I had a chance to see it, and I enjoyed it as well. I like the tones, like you were saying about like women empowerment. I enjoyed the play on the title in a sense. Like instead of using Predator, they use Prey, and how women back then, and they portrayed this within the storyline of how, like, women are supposed to do X, Y, and Z instead of being X, ABC or whatever like that, right? So I enjoyed, those tones. I enjoyed the action. I'm just curious to know of like what they're going to do with the Predator movies at this point. Like, I watched the one that came out back in 2018, I think it was 2018 or 2019, right before the pandemic, I think. And it's like, where do you go from here? Because it's already, the one from 2019 or 2018 was placed in present day. So now all they have is to go back in the past, which is fine. But it's like, it's literally going to be the same story every time. The Predator's going to come in. He wants to hunt. Some human hunter has to rise to the occasion and beat the Predator or whatever like that. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's going to be the same thing over and over again. I'm curious to know how they're going to do something different.
Yeah, and I felt like this was different. I felt like there's the take on what she had to do. First of all, being a girl, out of all the Predators movies, the main is a girl. So it was giving me very Aliens, Ripley, which was groundbreaking at that time, with Ripley, the main character being a female.
Even Aliens versus Predator with Sanaa Lathan. Remember that one? Yeah. So quick storyline I would want to see them do. So I didn't know. I found out over the weekend that the Predator series and Alien series is in the same universe as Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Didn't know that. Yeah, I didn't know that until I started reading up on it. So imagine this: if the Predator comes back in like old times, where like old time Japan type situation where samurais and all that still took place, you have that incorporated with Master Splinter, right before he turned into a rat, and his master or whatever like that, and kind of incorporate how the Ninja Turtles came to be with the Predator lines. Yeah, I'm interested in knowing how it would go.
I think even the Predator just coming back in feudal Japan in general would be actually a dope concept. You got samurais like ninjas, and like then like they're the greatest warriors, and then the Predator comes in, like multiple Predators, maybe add in more. That would be a good follow-up to this. Like, do something different every single time. Like,
you guys can go down the rabbit hole of this.
I can.
Separate podcast.
We're
not doing that right now. Like, I am bored to tears.
What did you think? Well, we know
it was trash. All right, so moving on, guys. It wasn't that good. It wasn't even worth this conversation. I was like, this is ridiculous. All right, guys. This week, man, Teddy Ray. I don't know if you guys know about the comic Teddy Ray, but he was a comedian on social media. Who was kind of on like Kevin on Stage, studios and various other people. He was connected to them. He passed away like 2 days ago, I think. Drowned in his swimming pool. I think he was 32 years old. From the report that I read about, it says that his body was tragically found floating in a swimming pool Friday. Authorities said the pool was at a residence in Rancho Mirage, California, a few hours from where Wild 'N Out was shot. Comedy Central issued a statement saying Teddy Ray was hilarious, a beloved performer. He'll be deeply missed by the entire community and comedy community. And then actress Issa Rae, she says, rest in power to a longtime creative collaborator and friend, Teddy Ray. Grateful for the energy and always brought to our projects and sets. Like he was young. He was like 32 years old, like super young. And I think what I wanted to at least not talk about it, but just at least shed light to is like, man, people passing away. People are passing away out this joint and they're dying. And I'm like, it really makes me have a different outlook on life when when I'm getting to a point where I'm like we joked about 36 years old, but there's 4 years that this guy won't see between 32 and 36 that we're experiencing. And for Terrence, that's even more so. So like, I just I'm like, man, we gotta take more advantage of this life. We don't have the time we think that we have to like, oh, I'll figure it out later. I'll work on it later. Like this, and like to Seth Stone's point, like he was on All Def, and he will definitely. I agree, he will definitely be missed because his comedy he was very funny, like very good comedic genius, and I was just like super. When I saw it, I was like, wait, what? This man, like he's in our age bracket. It doesn't feel like people in our age bracket pass away. I know it's a thing that people do pass away in our age bracket, but it just seems like it's like, wait, that's ridiculous.
Normally it's like somebody getting shot, and something like this is just like or
exactly,
yeah, man. So and even to that point, it's like you were saying, John, like this life is short, man, and with people passing away that we know and have known, we're at the point where in lives where we have built relationships with people, right?
Yes.
And we're losing those people and having full awareness of like grief and experiencing like the loss of somebody. Kids, they experience grief, yes, but they experience it differently based off of their perspective in life at that moment. But being an adult and fully aware of like adult level things and emotions and things like that, man, it sends it on a whole nother level, and it's an interesting thing to go through, man. So
like, what's the name? What's the name? Ellen's ex-girlfriend like died. And Hesh.
I know you're
and
talking
like
about.
that was like all over CNN or whatever it was, and she wasn't that old. I mean, and I don't know how like people know her. But she was like pretty much a famous actor or whatever. She's like 80-something credits, and she like passed away in a car accident or whatever it was. I just goes to show like people are like, she wasn't that old. I mean, she was 50, so like she wasn't like, it's not like she was 70, 80 years old. She shouldn't have died.
I'm just saying, whatever you intend to do in life, just do it. Like, don't sit here trying to talk about down the road and down around the corner. And like, this life is not promised.
Do it
to
today.
Any of us. Go and do that jump today. That's the basic premise of what I was hoping to translate with that. Yeah.
For sure.
So let's hop into one of these things, man. This particular one here, you guys are all pretty familiar with, but let's just hop right into the topic, right? Not the topic, but one of the situations that happened this week. Here we go. This is the pastor y'all been talking about.
I'm not worth your McDonald's money.
Come on. Come on.
I'm not worth your Red Lobster money. I ain't worth your St. John knit. Y'all can't afford it no how.
Can't afford it no how.
I ain't worth y'all Louis Vuitton.
Come on.
I ain't worth your Prada.
Come on.
I'm not worth your Gucci.
Come on. Come on. Come on. Come on.
Mother, oh, I'm saying this, and I promise you, Deacon Ian, it's not with respect of want. I'm saying it because I want you to understand just what God is saying.
So,
What exactly is he saying?
You need to get y'all need to give more to y'all pastors. Like they
you need to give him more money.
Yeah, like 10%. No, 30. What's wrong with y'all?
So that was very viral this week, and I don't know where that church is located. But it really makes me like have a lot of pause about listening to people. What?
I tell you who would no longer be located in that church.
Right.
Myself. Like, it's time to go. Like,
it's like, yo, because you hear the semantics of how he's talking too. Like it's a lot of like, and you hear the people just saying, "Come on, pastor." Like he's talking about you. He's talking to you about how you're trash. He's telling you. He's not telling some other people. It's like it lets me know that people be in the congregation and really be like, amen in anything. It's just that he's literally talking to you. He's literally saying to you that you're trash individuals for not buying him Louis Vuitton, Saint whatever, and whatever other Dolce Gabbana, Gucci, whatever. Am I not good enough for no McDonald's? Am I not good enough for and he's reading you and y'all are amening him.
No, John, not the people that was amening was clearly the ones that be giving they all. You know what I'm saying? The 1 and 2 that was giving amen.
That's why he only can afford a McDonald's McNugget. That's why he's upset. He's sick of it. You know,
listen, that TikTok's like that'll do it. You don't got to worry about me. You ain't got to worry about me. I got my That's it for me.
It's just one of those things that when you keep seeing these things, these narratives that are like being viral, it definitely plays a part on how I look at the church, like side eyeing, like what are we doing right now? Like,
yeah,
this is the second story we've had in like a couple of weeks where a pastor has, maybe the other one didn't really monopolize the money because he was wearing Gucci and whatever and got robbed. But this is another thing where money was involved, another scandal where money was involved. So I'm sorry, Mike. I mean, cut you.
No, you good. You good. I imagine. Okay, so we're looking at this like, yo, as a church, like, what are we doing right now? Like, what's really good? Imagine the folks that are not a part of the church or even like babes in it, right? Like people that are newly to, Christianity, and it's just like, bruh, like, why'd I do this again? You know what I'm saying? Those are the same conversations. That's the same type of preaching that's going to turn people away because people are more, I guess, aware of get rich schemes now.
Yeah.
People are more aware of like, there are people out there that don't claim Christianity that know more about Christianity than we do. You know what I'm saying? Like they the ones that's reading the Bible in and out, and it pays for us to not only know the word of God, but to live it, man. You know what I'm saying? Like, cause people can't be fooled no more. Ain't nobody gonna be fools about it no more.
Well, actually, Mike, I was gonna even add that point. Imagine somebody who is like brand new and doesn't know any better.
Yeah.
And they think that that's what they're supposed to be doing to get closer to get closer.
Yeah.
Like they're a babe. And so this person is pretty much like, like kind of like leading them down a path that like talking about things that God just doesn't really care about. Like,
I would be interested in listening to like the rest of whatever he was trying to say, just to like hear what the point was. Yeah, we can kind of allude to like what the point is.
Why would you be interested in that? Like I would be like, why? If that was even a sub point of your main point, I'm not interested in nothing else you got to say.
Maybe he could have been talking about that's what some pastors say, and he wasn't saying that
at all, right?
We got that snippet.
That's something to think about. But
what did he just say? What'd you say, Terrence?
I said maybe in his context he was like, I'm not like one of those other pastors who preach about money. Those pastors who, and then we cut that snippet. But what he was really saying is that's not how it is here. That's why I still want to hear. I agree. I would love to hear the whole context.
No,
John's
no. The reality is no. He's not making another point. That man wants his McDonald's money. That man wants his Louis Vuitton money. That man wants
watch. He wants all that.
And that's the thing is like the gospel and scriptures and all that. That stuff is for the purpose of being able to read your soul, to show you who you really are, and the fact that you are this person. And the craziest thing is, we are so illiterate in Bible and not knowing scripture that we will amen someone that is literally speaking things that are false. Like it's a false teaching. This is false doctrine. Yeah. There's a scripture that talks about, I did a TikTok on this. The scripture talks about there's another gospel that's in the earth, not the gospel, another gospel. And these preachers are teaching the other gospel.
The other.
You know what I'm saying? And then people are amening to the other gospel. And like a whole, to me, there's a whole subset of people that believe like they're doing this thing, like you said earlier, for God, and they're misled, but they're misled of their own accord because the Bible tells clearly that what he was talking about, nowhere in the Bible supports that. That's why I don't need to hear the full sermon. Because what point could you possibly make that we need to get you some St. John's, Louis Vuitton, Gucci, whatever, and that somehow equates what you like you should be getting paid for as an apostle or bishop or whatever? Stop it. Stop it. And then the other thing that happened where Beyonce went viral. So y'all saw the bishop. Did y'all see where the bishop like went off on Beyonce?
No.
Did y'all miss that?
I missed that one.
And that's a whole nother clip. I don't even got that jump. I don't even have it with me today, but it was too funny. But the bishop went off on Beyonce for Beyonce's Church Girl song. And that song has been viral. You know, I mean, her whole album was viral, of course, because it's Beyonce. But he was upset because she used church girl and talked about it in a derogatory term. And he was saying that, you know, that particular song and the title of the song is sacrilegious. It's like it's ridiculous that she's doing it, and he bashing her. He going in on her about it in his own in his own church, and everybody's aiming in that joint. And of course, it went viral because it's Beyonce, right? So there's a lot of just this type of loose doctrine, like where we like judging the world for being the world. I'm like, yo, why do we care what Beyonce is doing on Beyonce's album? She's in the world. She's doing what the world is supposed to be doing.
It's like you can't be mad or don't set false expectations on people if you know they've kind of shown you who they are. And I'm not saying anything against Beyonce, but I'm saying in reference to of the world, right? Quote unquote of the world, like you were saying, versus you know, the lifestyle of I guess righteousness or whatever like that. Yeah,
Seth Stone said that it's crazy to me of how his spirit really said, go ahead and preach that nonsense. Yeah, it's crazy to me as well. I don't know what spirit he was operating.
Yeah, I was about to say, what spirit was he operating in?
Yeah, we don't know what that was. He said it was also about.
They said amen, so let it be written.
Okay, he also asked about. He was all about. He asked. That's what he said. It was all about. He asked for a watch and didn't receive it. That was the okay.
Why didn't he get the watch? That's the church's failure. They should have.
We would have never even heard that. We would have never heard.
They just got him the watch.
Yeah, y'all just did what y'all supposed to do. You're right. Thank you, Terrence, for that wonderful word. We're moving on. There's another last pastor thing I want to get into the main topic, but the last pastor thing I want to get into is this right here, y'all. Look at this right here.
Okay, when they are ready, thank you guys. Be seated, please. Livingston is amazing, but that song was boring me to death, so I had to come up, man. That's long. So, well, thanks, guys. We'll come back. We'll sing together in a minute.
Can you please play it again?
I'm gonna play it again.
Sleeping off.
Because it just was that good.
Okay, when they are ready, thank you guys. Be seated, please. Livingston is amazing, but that song was boring me to death.
The song was boring me to death.
Come up, man. That's long.
He said, "Jesus, Lord," didn't I think?
So, well, thanks, guys. We'll come back. We'll sing together in a minute.
Let me be very clear. Let me be very clear. As a musician, I gotta speak from the musician lens. Okay, I would literally be packing my keyboard up.
Gotta do it.
But okay, I'm firing myself. I'm leaving because you don't need me. He said, "Listen, y'all, guys. Hey, that song was boring me to death." Like who says?
Yep.
Who
Wrap it up.
says that
She was
in the middle
pouring
of a
her
set?
heart out.
She
She was
was.
singing.
And she
her
sounded
heart out.
good. And she sounded good, Terrence.
Oh,
Yo.
she was singing her poor
How
little
dare
Ting
he
Ting.
interrupt
Poor
her
little
spirit
Ting
flow
Ting
like
was
that?
singing
Yo.
her
Bro,
heart
I
out.
have never seen something more egregious than a pastor just get up there and say, okay, all right, God bless you. Amen. All right.
Oh.
We'll come back. We come back. Like, no, sir, we will not come
Yo.
back later.
It's
Okay.
like
No.
he tried to sandwich it, right? He was like, okay, all right, sandwich. That's the bread, right? I was bored to death, or whatever's in the middle. And then
Which part of the
no,
sandwich
we'll
is
come
that?
back and sing again. We'll come back and sing again. No, y'all
You
won't.
can't do that. You
Y'all
can't do
won't.
that. And what I laughed about was the keyboardist because I heard him. He was playing full out, and then the guy came up, and you start to hear him slow down, and then you start to hear him trickle away. Like, okay,
The cymbal
I
stopped like shh. Ooh.
He could have just been like, boom, and just like done,
bruh.
right?
I'm
He
trying to
didn't
tell you,
do that.
it couldn't be
That's
me.
funny.
I
What's
gotta
the
leave.
audacity, like the audacity is
Yeah.
that's where I just can't get past, like
Yeah.
the audacity, like
The
and like I'm not
audacity.
even trying to be like, I'm not even trying to be deep. I'm not even trying to be like really, but it's just like, yo, like what fruit of the spirit are you showing in this like at this point?
Love.
Especially if the greatest of all is love.
Love.
And bro, nothing about what you just did, like said that you love
Love is
this
patient.
person. Yo, it's supposed to be
Being
kind.
It's no. It was his love for the people because he felt like because he was
Here it is.
bored, he felt like
Come
the
on.
rest of them were bored too.
Amen.
So
Come
therefore,
on, Bishop.
he was showing love for the people by saying stop in
Ah,
the name of love.
come
There you
on.
go.
Come on. That was a good quick word. Thank you so much. Okay, your thing won't even focus.
It
Guys,
says
you guys,
love. It
yeah,
says
you
love.
can't even tell what it says. So let's hop into
You
the
will
main
not
topic.
do me
next.
like you did that. Like that he did that. Okay.
What? Oh, I got it. No, I can't. Okay. I was going to hop into the main topic, but I have to hit this before I hop
One
into the main
more
topic.
thing.
It's one more thing, guys, that we have to talk about really briefly. I forgot about it. It's on the docket. Here we go. It's so good. I don't know why I even left it off. Here we go. This one here.
Personal space. She's touching me. She's touching me. And I'm telling you, don't put, she can't put her hands on me. Oh, wait a minute.
Okay, stop it! Hey!
Now, don't you ever put your hands on me. No, get the fuck, everybody back off from me. This bitch, everybody gonna fight the woman, man.
No, watch out, man. You ain't gonna fight the woman, bro. You're not gonna fight the woman.
You got the wrong person.
Don't fight the woman, bro.
You got the wrong person. You speaking for my head.
Hold on, man. You ain't gonna fight the woman.
Hey, relax.
You ain't gonna fight no woman.
Relax.
I fight whoever. I fight whoever. I fight whoever. Put your hands on me. I fight whoever. Put your hands. I fight whoever. I fight whoever. Knock your bitch ass out. Knock me and knock your bitch ass out.
All right, guys.
So
So
first of all,
no, Terrence, no. You guys tell me, what would you do? You're at the airport. You're on your iPad. You're on your phone. You're reading a magazine, and a fight breaks out like that between a man and a woman. You don't know what the scenario is. All of a sudden, you see that man about to hit that woman, and you're sitting right there. What do you do?
See, hold on. We got the context though now, right? So it's kind of hard. Okay, you saying if we didn't
I
have
had the full context. I had the full context. I'm talking about that scenario.
That
She was.
scenario.
They were fighting back and forth. They were like verbally fighting back and forth. The woman finally.
Uh-oh.
Oh crap! Did I lose it? Y'all got me?
Nah,
we
you
got
still
you
here.
now.
Whew.
Okay. Yeah. Like literally hits dude in the face, right?
Yeah.
Then he goes off like a linebacker runs through whoever was like holding him back initially.
Bro, full blitz.
That's where it's
Full
right
blitz.
there. I'm sorry. The
Hey,
way
his-
I seen home
The
dude
swim move
fly
that he
back-
put on that man.
First of all,
Crazy. Yes.
first
Technique,
of all,
boy.
if you need a lineman right now to go after the quarterback, he's
Dallas.
there right
He's
now.
for Dallas right
Can you
now.
hire
Literally
this man? Right.
call
Can you
him
hire
right
this
I
man?
really so my issue with this is like I really I have to say, I'm unsure of what I would do. I know I wouldn't let that dude beat her to a pulp. I know I wouldn't let that happen.
Yeah,
But
okay.
the girl is antagonizing him, and then hits him dead in his face. I'm not saying he should hit her back because I don't believe that. But should we, as bystanders, jump in and protect the girl when she's dead wrong? Also, before you answer, keep in mind, feminism is real. Women want to stand on their own accord, and they can do everything just as a man can do. Answer.
So she felt safe to swing past that guy. So I don't even think feminism is the key here. She felt safe that guy in the middle was going to protect him from attacking her back, which is why she didn't get that buck until he was literally guarded, and then she swung. I see this all the time in schools. People pop slick because the teacher's not going to let me get beat up. This teacher's going to be in the middle, so I'm going to get my one in, and it's going to be broken up real quick. But when I step back and have a stick up real quick, and then what you going to do? So no, I'm not going to let her.
Are you breaking it up, or are you letting it happen?
I'm not going to let her get punched in the face.
So you're stepping in
because she'll be dead wrong. I don't want her to be dead. So that's I'm not.
Okay. Okay, with that in mind, she'll be dead wrong, but I don't want her to be dead. True. But I look at this situation like you would a child, right? And you can sit back and say, hey, don't touch that stove, it's hot. Don't touch that stove. It's super hot. You're not gonna like the results. And if he end up touching that stove, hey, that's on them. They asked for that. I told you to back down, and you got burnt. In this scenario, hey, look,
you need a butt whooping. Is that what you're saying?
If she got popped,
she got popped,
Mike,
she asked for it. Mike, just say it. She needs to get smacked.
She asked for it, right? But I'm not gonna let her get beat down by this behemoth of a linebacker. You know what I'm saying?
So he got one hit in.
Oh, he did.
He did get one hit in.
Running.
Do you intervene?
And she ran. Okay, now she's on retreat. All right, cool. You got yours in, bro. Chill.
That's where I'm.
Okay, so after he hit her back, you would be like, okay, that's enough.
She was on full retreat. All right, we done. The fight's over.
So if she's not, just last question, if she's not on full retreat and she's like, nah, let's go, what are you doing?
I don't know.
If she like, she's like, what's up? What you want to do? I already got my first hit in. What you want to do? Are you breaking that up? You get in the middle of that?
Or you square up with this dude? All right. At that point, I got. Hey, look, you really asked.
It's the all right for me. All right, let me rethink this because I should.
What if that was your wife? What if that was one of your wives?
Come on, bro.
One of our wives that does what though?
That went
Which
off.
part?
That went
and
off.
She hits a guy.
Yeah.
Look at you. Jeez. So
you hits a guy?
You making sure she you making sure is she on this episode?
No. But I was getting a call. I was trying to think. If she hits a guy, then I think I would probably have to intervene because she would get. But that's just so uncharacteristic. But if she does do it, then I will have to intervene.
I'm with Kimberly.
As a woman, you don't put your hands on a man unless you're fully ready to wreck this dude. No, I agree. I agree. But I'm just saying, like the girl, if he got like 4 or 5 hits in, I couldn't be mad because you need to understand, like you don't put your hands on a guy. And a lot of times women are antagonistic. Like they just be like, yo, I'm going to get in your face and I want the smoke. Yeah. Imagine that. She's saying, I want the smoke. Yeah. That linebacker moved on that man and moved him out the way quicker than I've ever seen any defense.
The swim move he put on
that
dude,
man, it was good technique.
Too. It was really good, man.
He boxed him out.
They showing that in training camp right now.
Training video
right
now. Not in training camp right now. I think too. Like I just think you have to intervene. Like to Ken's point, I'm going to look for my man to intervene before it even gets to that point. See, here's the thing, because sometimes we as men aren't as confrontational though. Like sometimes it'd be the women that be more confrontational, and that sometimes can be the case. So like I'm sorry, go ahead.
My bad. To your point, transparency moment. I had to have a conversation with Renee about that. Renee is my wife, y'all. I had to have a conversation with Renee about that in the beginning of our relationship because I noticed some things about like how she would pop slick in the mouth, like say little stuff here and there, and like loud too. Not even like, you know, mumble mouth with it, nothing like that. She would like say that John out loud, whoever it is. And I straight told her, I was like, yo, you gonna make me have to fight somebody one day. And she was like, what you talking about? I was like, yo, you gotta chill with the comments and stuff. When we out in public, somebody say something crazy, let me handle it. or at least like come at it with some tact, right? Don't just pop off on somebody, because I felt like at the time she wasn't built like that. So I was like, yo, you gotta chill, because now you put me in a situation where I gotta sit here and defend you.
You gotta fight.
Yeah.
So somebody walks by, Mike, slaps your girl on your wife on the butt, and keeps it pushing. Bigger than you though. What you doing?
Oh, you gotta fight.
Hey, look, I will be first round pick, punt return kicker that day. You feel me? I don't care how big he is. He gotta go down.
You gotta go down.
You don't have no choice. But it's a hit. Like I've had that experience before, and what I talk to people like, that's why sometimes it is good to be like non-confrontational sometimes, because I've seen so many stories of stuff like this go left, and I've had to break this down to students. Like even in the situations like this, like I've had like even in my own relationship where I'm like, yo, we drive in the hallway, somebody cross you off, you roll down your window. What are you doing? And I'm like, yo, I'm pulling up in Baltimore. They will take you out.
Yeah,
it's just like
I'm like, air that joint out, bro.
Air that joint out, because so if you can be less confrontational and you got a chance, like, where's this going? I'm gonna honk at you back. Makes sense. I'm gonna get in your face. You gonna get in my face. Nobody wants to get got, etc. And the next thing you know, somebody's gone. So just like, I'm with you. But you're right. Once we there, now I gotta fight for you.
I think it's more what Kimberly was already saying. She's like, so you got to check that with your woman and calm her down, and she gets to out of pocket with the dude, so she doesn't start something that you have to finish. And I'm like, I agree. And like, cause I'm like, it like to the point what you were saying, Mike. Like if it was Joe or whatever, I'll be like, yo, chill. You got about 3 chills. Like, yo, chill. Like if you still go, yo, chill. This is the third one. Yo, chill. I'm talking to her. I ain't talking to like whoever is popping up. I'm like, yo, chill. Like, cause listen, these days, I'm not gonna joke with y'all. These people that look like women could be men. These people you thinking this is a whole chick and there's a straight man under there ready to rock your world.
He's born to body slam you on the ground right now.
You just don't know. You don't like so. It's to even the point of like, yo, I heard about somebody mowing the lawn, yo. And they were mowing the lawn. I don't know if this is, I think it was in DC. He was mowing the lawn or something like that. He had a lawn company. The grass clippings got on this guy's car. The guy's car was like just got washed or whatever.
DC. That happened in DC.
In DC? Yeah. Man, the passenger came and killed dude that was mowing the lawn. The owner of the company killed dude for getting grass clippings on his car.
Yeah.
That's crazy, like, can you imagine? And on top of all of that, dude apologized before it even escalated. So it wasn't like he wasn't trying to de-escalate the jump. So I was just like, yo, if somebody will kill you over grass clippings on a car, please don't give us people reason to like we be out and now I gotta go and fight and all. That's ridiculous.
You saw the joint with the lady. The girl was having an argument with her baby daddy, and she went to get her brothers, and they walked up into the house. Like the brothers walked. This was real viral. Like
they walked up into another grown man house.
So her baby father was in the house. They got into an argument. She went down the street to get her brother and his friend, or 2 brothers, whatever it was. They walked up to the house. The dude in the house told him to leave. They walked into the house and he shot them
dudes.
Yep. He killed her brother.
He burned
and he shot the other dude. And so I'm like, these dudes went in there to defend your honor. And then your brother is dead over your domestic situation. Like, you know what I'm saying? So it's just like this, like, we're not talking stuff that, I know it's like not even jokes on it, but we're not talking stuff that don't happen. This happens.
Yeah.
Right? Like, so it's just like,
That's why it's so important, man. De-escalation tactics need to be the first line of defense. De-escalate,
Absolutely.
man. De-escalate
And it's
until
actually
until the
Sorry, go ahead.
threat is like absolutely imminent. Like if there's no other choice, then put
Sure.
them on the ground. You know what I'm saying? You gotta do what you gotta do.
I'm realizing that we're older. I don't move like I used to move. You know what I'm saying? So I got about 5 swings. Okay, I got a good 5. After them 5, I don't know what's gonna happen. I'm gonna be tired. Hopefully, you're tired. Like I'm just
Yeah,
hoping.
hopefully
Like,
both of y'all tired. Like,
we
all
both
right,
like, look, what are we
all
doing?
right.
Come
Time
here,
out.
let's hug it
Time
out.
out.
But the reality of it is this, and the topic kind of matches what we were already talking about. Do black men need therapy? I was listening to a podcast earlier today. It was like an actual show, and there was a guy named Dr. Chris Johnson. He was saying his one major claim that he made on a couple of claims that he made. And I want to just run them by you guys because it was really important that we talk about it as a black man. 90% of men in the world, he said, are unhealthy mentally because we aren't able to express what another man did as foul without it being aggressive. So he's saying that's why most men kill other men when they've been hurt instead of communicating, because a lot of times men don't know how to process without it going to a fight. We haven't been taught that, right? A lot of times, like you processing your feelings is unheard of, especially as a young man growing up. A lot of it, like we talked about so many times in this podcast before, a lot of it is like, oh, shake that off, get over it. You ain't really hurt. You're not really hurt, and you're taught to suppress a lot of feelings. And so it kind of opened up this door of like, yo, if 90%, he made a big claim, of course, like 90% of men need therapy because of the way we have been socialized to process anger and to process our feelings. And I thought that was really interesting. I'm gonna say 2 more things, and you guys can talk freely about it. He said, a man's strength comes from his vulnerability. A man's strength comes from his vulnerability. And then the one other thing he said, he said a couple of things, but I'll just start here. He claimed that relationships could be free of fighting. This is a good one. As long as the man sets up properly from the beginning how they will handle conflict going forward. So one of the major claims he made is like, you don't have to have fights in marriage or in relationships. He was saying the reason is the issue is that we don't know how to properly have conflict resolution. So when we're upset, we like some people need space. Some people need like to hug it out right then and there, whatever the case may be. So he's saying like at the end of the day, you think you have to fight, or you think that it's going to be conflict, of course, but because we don't discuss how we do conflict resolution from the beginning of the relationship, like when we fight, because we go and fight, like right. So you already have that baked into the pie. We go and fight. So when we fight, how do we fight? And having those conversations before you get to the conflicts or before you get to those raw moments, expressing how you're going to do it while you're at a space of sobriety.
Gotcha. That's really good, man. I agree sort of with the statement of like a man's strength is in his vulnerability. I will go further and say a man's strength is in his self-awareness and discipline, right? So self-awareness leads to the level of transparency or vulnerability you're going to have with your partner within your relationship, so you can be able to have those conversations ahead of time on how to do conflict resolution. And then in your discipline, in those moments where like, hey, if you do get angry or frustrated, okay, how are you going to react in that moment, or are you going to like process in the sense of, hey, you know what, right now we can't have this conversation because whatever's going to come out of my mouth, whatever's going to happen right now, I need to back away. I need to back away. We can't have this convo. And unfortunately, what happens, the spouse, whether it's man or women, what'll happen is they want to get their point across because they've been so hurt, or because they've been so hurt within the conversation, whatever ended up happening, they want to get their point across to the point where like they don't hear anything that person has to say in reference to like, hey, let's separate for a little bit. They want to say, no, because you did X, Y, and Z, and you need to know that you messed up and X, you know what I'm saying? And it's so vindictive about it, you know what I'm saying? It's unfortunate that folks are like that, but if we come into agreement of saying, like in the beginning, to say, hey, like my intentions towards you are not to hurt you, like, and really mean that thing and trust that person means that thing, and view their actions as such, then I don't think we always have to go in a sense of hey, I need to be on my get back, or I need you to understand how I feel about the situation right now. Let's back off for a second. Let's come back at it when we're like, not so mad and angry and frustrated, where we're able to process our thoughts and our feelings behind it. And let's get back to a point of cohesion.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I like what Lisa was saying. She said, I had to ask my husband not to tell our son to get over his pain and tighten up after getting elbowed in the mouth in a basketball game, and to give him space to feel his feelings regardless of what they are. He was physically hurt and angry as well because he was clearly fouled and the kid got away with it. So he's trying to process both of these emotions. And I think that's a good point, because I'm like, a lot of it is just the things that we've been socialized in, right? Like, so we've been socialized to, like, that we always talk about, like, what does it even mean to be a man? We talk about the idea of like masculine versus feminine, like femininity versus masculinity. And I actually had I was talking to, as you guys know, Jonica, a friend of mine, and she was basically saying she believes, and I she could kind of agree with her, is that there's a bit of masculinity and femininity in everybody, she was saying. And so she was saying the sense of like, I may be more dominantly masculine as a man, but I have to possess both masculinity and femininity to be able to be a husband, or father or whatever, in this space of like being, all those things. I got to be able to be both. What are y'all thoughts on that?
So I think it's very true. I'm trying to go back to, like, even mixed with that, to talk about your point earlier. Like number one, I'm answering the question. I think every living, breathing person should be in therapy. I will stand, like, I've been very transparent that I honestly feel like therapy has saved my life, and therapy is still saving my life. Like, and I will always like expose that. And this is coming from somebody who never wanted to do therapy. I thought it was stupid. I thought it was a waste of time. I thought it was dumb, and it has changed me across the board. And I think it's a phenomenal thing. I think every Black man that has been raised in a very urban environment should definitely be in therapy. I agree with the statements that were made earlier, is that the issue that I have, the issue I think I see with us not processing our feelings, and why I think therapy helps, is because a therapist is somebody who can be non-partial and non-biased. No matter how much I have, like my boys, Mike and John, about what I'm experiencing, what I go through, whatever it was, at the end of the day, there's bias there because they're my friends. And even me getting it out, even when even advice they have, as much as they can and possible, there is still some level of bias there, because at the end of the day, they want to see me, they care about me. And
I disagree. I actually disagree there.
Hear what I'm saying. I don't think there's any way around it. So you may disagree. What I'm saying is, hear what I'm saying. I don't think there's any way around it. Even if you give even at the best advice that you give, even if the goal is to be as non-biased as possible, by default, there's bias. Everybody has bias by default. And my point I'm trying to make is, a therapist, they have nothing to gain or lose from you. They have nothing to gain here. Like, their only job responsibility is to try to, is like their relationship. There's no emotional attachment to you. And so for me, what I got out of therapy is, I felt more inclined to let more out what I was experiencing, and more inclined to listen, because I'm already trusting immediately. Your goal is not to tell me something to make me feel better. And don't get me wrong, my boys aren't like that. Like, I would say that across the board. We don't do that across the board. But what I'm saying is, you can't say that for every friend circle.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is, with a therapist, the right therapist, there's no intent on it to worry about, am I going to say the wrong thing that's going to ruin our relationship structure?
I agree with you. Okay, so I agree with you on that part. I agree with you on that part, right? So where I will push back, that's a couple of places, is so on the podcast I listened to today, the therapist was saying that when he has sit downs with whoever he has sit downs with, he works out. He says, okay, what's the issue you're trying to resolve? All right, here's the map of how long it should take to resolve this issue. So let's just say it's 8 sessions. He says at the end of that 8-session period, he's going to say, all right, guys, like, or whoever that person is, how am I doing, and how has this made you feel? Like so basically, he's like, yo, this should be at some point. I should be addressing the issue, and you should be coming out of this at some point. The only reason I'm saying this is this. You're saying they have nothing to gain. In the way that you're saying it, I agree. They have nothing to gain. But for certain therapists where they're padding their pockets, they have to gain in that aspect because they're not going to completely like heal the person or help the person navigate as quickly, knowing that this is something that they can be lucrative off of on the long term.
As I said, the right therapist. Like
I agree. I agree with the right therapist. But the other point I was going to make was this. You're saying like, oh, John, you guys offer bias. And okay, of course, everyone, like you said, has a certain level of bias. But what I will disagree is that, like we've talked, and we've talked out offline many times. And in talking offline, we'll sit there and be like, yo, John, you'll be like, John, what you said aligned with what the therapist said.
For sure, 100%.
And that'll happen more times than it doesn't. So I'm like, that may also be why, obviously, there's like a layered onion to why men do not have the ability to be able to, like, a lot of men don't want to, I should say, go to therapy. That may be the one of the reasons, like, yo, I got my guy here who's gonna tell me whatever it is going on or wrong or whatever within my life. I don't need to go to a therapist and pay that person something out of pocket.
But I don't know if that's true though, John. My only pushback is I don't know if that exists in every male circle. One thing that like a friend of mine kind of shared with me was we have that dynamic. Like we have that like friend circle. We like there's not a lot of males that have that dynamic.
I agree.
It's more like, and so what I'm experiencing is like, although I think I've surrounded myself with dudes who are like, even if they got a degree, maybe if they don't got a degree, they got a degree, they got some semblance of a family. They're trying to improve themselves. You know what I'm saying? Like they work themselves. Mm-hmm. That ain't the majority of people, especially in a lot of urbanized cultures.
I agree.
And so what I'm saying is I just think that like, oh, wow, that's my story. And I agree with what you're saying. I don't know if that's the story for every man. Mm-hmm. And so a lot of his boys don't always give him the best advice. Mm-hmm. Like a lot of them like, yo, you keep doing you, bro. You're like, nah, man, quit that job. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, nah, you don't need that job.
I agree with that. But also I'm saying about the ability to be able to be real and call people out. That generally happens amongst men. A lot of times men can feel comfortable calling each other out. You understand what I'm saying? Like I that's the part I'm more so speaking to, is because our culture has kind of been curated with this idea that honesty, like especially amongst men, is going to be most prevalent more often than it's not. Like there's not a lot of men out here that, like, when we have a men-to-men conversation, that's like, I'm not going to tell him the truth. That does not naturally happen a lot. I'm in my men circles. Do you understand what I'm saying?
Yeah, I just think it's our circle. Like I said, okay, I think it's who we've like. I agree, yeah. and I think I might be also lucky enough. I'm being honest. Even outside of you all, for the most part, I've surrounded myself with pockets of dudes who be like, nah, bro, like who will like, nah, I don't think you did that the right, like who were like, you know what I'm saying? I don't know if that has existed, and talking to a lot of groups of people of and even my therapist, that does not exist everywhere. Like, and she would even say, like, yo, she would even say, like, it's so good that you have that, because, like, she's like, I've in my experience with a lot of males, nah, like they don't have that. And so it's like, it's really good that when you do have a strong friend circle that you can kind of like bear all whatever it was, and the second thing, I mean, like to me, the most important thing, like I thought about that was just because I was listening to Lisa's story earlier. We are so, as a culture, and I'm talking about Black urban culture, and even white urban cultures, really urban culture. Mm-hmm. There's so many people, and everybody is built up this thing where everyone's trying to take advantage of me, and I don't want to be taken advantage of. So I have to react immediately when somebody does something to harm me. My immediate thing is, oh, you're not going to take advantage of me. I got to get you back. So conflict resolution and conflict, trying to dismantle conflict is not taught, because the go-to is don't let nobody punk you. It's in the music, it's in the movies, it's in our communities, it's taught by parents, it's taught about, like, I'm talking as an educator. How many fights do I have where when I talk to the parent, well, did you get them? Good, good.
Yeah.
Like, and when you break down the story, nah, like, no. Like, I gotta teach them how to be a productive citizen. But legitimately, like it's funny that we're talking right now. Like, I'm always countering a lot of parents because they push bad actions on their kids. Like, you need to go fight that girl. You need whatever it was. And I'm saying, like, nah, I got to teach you to be a productive citizen. But lo and behold, am I teaching you to be a productive citizen? Because if what's out there is the counter to what I'm teaching them, like, am I making sense here? Pretty much, I'm
teaching them to stay in a circle or a box, right? You're teaching them to stay in a box of whatever this mentality is versus being not just a productive citizen, but being able to branch out into the world of different, like building relations with different people from different ways of life. You know what I'm saying? Like outside of America, like from what I hear, I haven't had a chance to travel outside, but for what I'm hearing, different cultures and stuff, man, are just they're more friendly, man, more welcoming, and more, like, I guess, family oriented, and wanting to do things as a collective. I don't know what it is about America sometimes where it's just like, yo, it's everybody out there to get it for themselves type thing. So we automatically are born and raised into a society where, like, it's almost like a crabs in a barrel type situation. There are moments out there where, like, you run into people that are genuinely, like, they want to see others succeed and want to like bring other people up with them. But unfortunately, like you were saying, Terrence, like you got people that are in these pockets of communities where, like, they're raised a certain way, where they have to, like, their pride kicks in, and they have to fight for their pride. They have to fight for their family, and they have to keep this guard up and everything like that. These are the things that cause us to divide at the end of the day and build these weird ways of building, like, relationships with folks, right? Or lack of relations.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of what you guys are saying is good. I'm reading the comments and I'm looking at, the need for therapy is definitely something that I believe is real to a certain degree. I think where I have pause is, like, the lifelong therapy people, where it's like, I'm going to do this forever. And I view it as something that should be a goal-oriented thing. At least in my lens that I have right now. And so that's go ahead. I'm sorry, Mike.
So let me give you a different lens, even from a Christian counselor's perspective. So I have a master's degree in Christian counseling, and one of the things that we've learned is that by being a counselor, it is recommended and wise counsel for you to be counseled, right? Like, think about it from a practical sense. How can you have the expectation of constantly counseling somebody when there's no one there to counsel you in a way of making sure, I guess, whoever's checking you're in charge of checking other folks, right? To ensure that they're meeting whatever goals that they're supposed to be meeting by coming to counseling, right? So, but who's making sure you're still on the up and up in reference to not just the goals and aspirations that you have, but ultimately, like, how you're leading the people that you're counseling, right? So even from a leader's perspective, I think it's wise for folks to go to counseling or go to therapy in a sense of, like, just the checks and balances, man, just to making sure, like, hey, everything was good this month. I had some challenges, X, Y, and Z, and those can be the moments where someone gives you a different perspective than what you're used to seeing and portraying and giving to other people.
Okay. I would even, and I'm gonna add to that, it also depends on the person's mental health, if there's a diagnosis, like, on whether they might need lifelong counseling. Okay. And the reason why I'm saying is because I remember, so, like, just this, like, past week, like, I'm like, I'm on vacation, and I'm actually literally in the middle. Like, I'm in the, I cannot make this up. I'm in the middle of having fun at a bar, by myself, music playing, good food, good drinks, good vibe. And immediately I got depressed. Something just immediately. And what dawned on me is so I started looking, like I was looking things up. Like as soon as I got back to my room, I started looking things up, like looking up why the hell did this occur? Everything's fine. Like everything is like perfectly fine. Matter of fact, I've been having fun. What happened? And so one of the things I realized, a quote I saw was like people who struggle with depression, as I do, like it can hit you in a moment. And it can hit you in a moment where you are surrounded. You could be surrounded by people that you love and you are enjoying, and it can still hit you. And at that point, you're also not at a place. You're not at a place where you can't even do anything about it. And so, it's just like.
So how do you work? How do you work from that moment? Just out of curiosity, because I don't know. How do you get from there to back to where you're?
I would tell you at that point in time, I would have loved to have a conversation with my therapist. I would have
to help navigate.
I would have loved it, and I didn't. Yeah. So it's like, and what happens is you start spiraling, like the mind, like you start spiraling, whatever it was. So you can either go to sleep, which could happen, whatever it was, or hopefully you might get out of it. But depending on what your level of the depression is, that hope for can be really bad. It could be really, really, really bad. And so I remember before I understood it, I used to be very judgmental of depression. Like, you should just get over it. You should just get over it. You should get over it. And depending on the level of the level of depression and the mental, if it's a disability, there's so much into that. Because the different types of depression. Yeah. And so if it's really a chemical thing inside the brain, there's almost like some people really have to have medicine, legitimately, legitimately.
There's such thing as chemical imbalances within the human body that can encourage or entice depressive moments. It's interesting that you mentioned that, Terrence, about you can be in a place of everything was copacetic, you was happy, you was living it up, you enjoying yourself, and then it just hits you like that. That's just a telltale sign of you're still dealing, and it's a process, right? For anybody that's dealing with depression, it doesn't just go away. For some it does, but others it's a process nonetheless. Right. So it could be moments where you feel like you're getting better. And even if you decide to kind of go out and enjoy yourself, there are some things that still need to be worked out
for sure
within that process. And it's okay to go through those moments. In moments like that, and this is me talking to you as a friend now, I wish it could be a phone call away type thing. Hey man, I need to talk for a second, or something like
but
that.
I don't know if we're equipped. That's why I'm listening to you talking. I'm like, I have no idea what I would be like. Oh, I will. In Tino, he hit me. I'd be like, yeah, what's good? Oh, no. It's real. It's very surfacey. Not because we don't have a deep friendship, but because I don't have no. I have no ability to know what that.
And I totally get that. I totally get that mindset, and I think my response in reference to yo, I wish I was a phone call away, has nothing to do with the whole, Christian counseling thing. It's more so of yo, my friend is going through something, and I want to be able to do something, but I don't know how, but I at least want to be there. And sometimes presence is all people need sometimes, right? To help process, or even a soundboard to say, hey man, I'm going through something, whatever like that. I could bounce some questions off of you to help you, find the resolution of whatever you're trying to find. You feel me?
I think my issue with the conversation, not really, and I hate to use the word issue, but I do have some pause about not to at all, but just the mental health, the depression. I'm not at all against mental health or depression, but these statements or these phrases and words have been kind of coined and almost overly used to a certain degree. I don't know if it's being overly used, and I'm kind of it's like when, and then this is not saying for you at all, Terrence, or anyone even on here.
No, what you're saying.
But literally, the Black Lives Matter became a thing, right? And because there was a certain level of monopolizing that happened through saying, "Oh, Black Lives Matter," and everybody's on that wave. So I'm always trying to wade through, is this a wave thing? Or is this a thing like not even for everybody else, even for myself? Like, I'm like, shoot, am I depressed? Do I be depressed? Like, I'm asking myself those questions. Is everybody depressed? Does everybody have depression? Like, these are the questions that I'm asking, because I'm like, I see it pop up everywhere. And I'm like, but how do you know whether you have it? How do you know whether you was in it? Like, these are the type of things that you start to think about, because I'm like, I'm generally an even keel person, but I'm also can be very quiet. Does that, like, those, what are those symptoms, if you will?
People who struggle with, well, at least this is what I told. Like I said, this is like, in a sense, a new diagnosis, whatever it was. So, and it's kind of relatively new. So my therapist would say, like, you know, you got to watch your triggers, because there's depression and there's an anxiety, and if you have both, that's horrible. That's like it's like, and I don't think I have too much of the anxiety. I don't think I have too much anxiety. I can think depression can lead to some anxiety moments, but I don't think I, in a sense, really struggle with anxiety. So if you have depression and anxiety, and those things are both happening at the same time, it's just like a spiral. And so I can't explain it, but that's why it can be treated with medicine, like legitimately. And I know people who take medicine for it. And so literally, it's just really, it's kind of the same thing as people who don't believe. I remember I had to talk with my wife before about, she understand ADHD, and my son got diagnosed with ADHD. Most people don't understand ADHD, but real ADHD is a term, like you said, that's been overused. Yeah. Right? It's been overused. Somebody got energy, they got ADHD. Somebody got, they run around, he's just a kid, he got ADHD. It's been overused, 100%. Somebody who really has ADHD, right? Literally, there is, if you were to take a scan of their brain, it's not the same as somebody who does not have ADHD. Mm-hmm. And so literally, you can actually scientifically read it on an MRI scan to actually see it. You know what I'm saying? And so depression actually kind of operates like that. It really does. Where it's like, so yeah, it is overused. Unfortunately, it's going to be used by some who don't have it. And the flip side, it's going to be not used with people who do have it, who should seek help. Like, you know, as I'm learning, like, it's because you're right. It is a buzzword, right? It's a really buzzword right now. And again, anything that you monetize and benefits for will be monetized. And because now there's benefits for you for diagnosis, like, I know this because I'm educated. Some kids can get out of school for having anxiety. Right. Like, they can get excused from school. And so I got a kid, like, I have one student who, when I say you could tell his anxiety, she walks to a building, she sweats, she shakes, she panics, she screams. It's real. Then the other kid who just don't want to come to school. I got anxiety.
Yeah.
Like, you know, so it's just like.
Yeah, I got you. So I like what Kimberly said in reference to, like, people are being, like, becoming more educated about depression and anxiety and things of the such. So it's being talked about more, right? And we're identifying those things even within ourselves as we're educating ourselves about it. But what the danger is behind that is the wave that you're talking about, John, where people, like, kind of ride that thing out to the point where it becomes their identity, right? And depression and anxiety and things like that aren't necessarily meant to become an identity. It is a phase. It is something that we go through. It's just something that we experience, but it does not have to be a part of our identity. So I just wanted to say that, as far as, like, making the separation there, as far as, like, talking about it and becoming, you know what I'm saying? Yeah.
I just think knowing whether you need to go be, if it's lower levels of it, like to your point, Mike, where there's lower levels of it, and it feels like, you know, we may not all need to go to therapy due to the fact that it may. I'm just based off of this conversation. Is there some sense of self-correctness that could happen for certain people, that I don't need to go, I don't need to be medicated, or I don't need to be in therapy. I'm depressed. I'll get over it. And like, to the point of what we said earlier, is like, we haven't been able to be properly, like, as like Kim was saying, we haven't had the proper terminology, the expression of what that even looks like. I mean, our whole demographic of people weren't ever utilizing these type of terms.
Yeah.
You know, so, like, to say it now as in putting a name to these things, it's like, yeah, well, do black men really do? Because I'm looking at us as a culture, like we were saying earlier, and people go from 0 to 100 because we're not even able to have conversation as men, because a lot of things are just like for instance, if I have a beef with somebody, the assumed beef means we got to fight. It's not even that it's got to be verified. It's like we ain't talked about it, but you can get this work on site. Like that's the type of like information how we talk to each other.
Yeah.
So I guess what I'm trying to say about this topic in general is like I'm concerned about the wave, because a lot of people seem to be riding that wave of, oh, I got depression. Oh yeah, me too. Oh yeah, me too. It's a huge me too moment with a lot of these mental health things. And I always want to be cautious about what I attach myself to and what I say I am or I'm dealing with or struggling with, because I'm like, what if I'm not? What if I just said something that just wasn't for me? And it's like, I'm not really dealing with that. And it's a hype right now behind, just not saying it's a positive hype, but negative. It's just a hype around saying, oh, I'm depressed. Oh, I have anxiety. Oh, I got this disorder. It's a weird thing to say that's a hype around it, but culturally, it's become way more accepted, especially in our community.
Yeah, I think Brandy made a good point. Like as far as like a rule of thumb, if it starts to like, if it's something that debilitates you or even takes you off your normal mode of operatum, if you will, like you're used to a certain way of reacting, whether you're I don't know, super bubbly, whatever the case, right? Like you know who you are in those moments every day. But when you notice yourself feeling a certain way, or you notice like you're not reacting to certain things like you usually do, or like bouts of like sadness and you don't know why, or like moments where it's just like you want to cry, or stuff like that, something that takes you out of your normal mode of whatever you're doing, that's something to acknowledge, right? And start seeking assistance to help navigate whatever that is, especially when it goes on for a long period of time. You got like months. People go through it for months, and us as a people, right? Our community of people, Black people in general, like, we've gone through that for years, but folks have told us to suck it up, or like, oh, just go outside and play, or you know what I'm saying, go enjoy yourself, go do something fun, whatever the case. And it could turn around to be so much deeper than that, but we were told to like bury it, you know what I'm saying, and look past it.
I think what's interesting is just like it has so many signs than just being low. As I'm starting to get involved, like be more involved.
What do you mean? Say more about low, because I don't know what it means.
So a low is like when you just feel down.
Yeah.
When you, and I guess the ultimate low is when you start to have suicidal thoughts, like ultimate low, right? But a low could just be like you feeling down, like you don't. It's an immediate. It's like an onset of just being unhappy, an onset of being extremely sad, and then it keeps spiraling. Like nobody wants me, like nobody cares about me, blah 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 blah. Like it just keeps right. And that's just only one side of a depressive state. But one of the things, like a friend of mine shared with me, was like, it's funny how you sometimes you experience this depression when you're about to come home, and did you ever notice that? And like, so it's like a trigger, and I don't like it's a trigger, right? And so one of the things I realized, there might be some truth to that. If I'm away at an event that's away from like what I'm about to entail the next week, and that's about to end, then this depression sinks in, right? Like it's just like, but what that means is that whatever I could have just undergone, and whatever I just chose to do was also a way to avoid it, which is also a sign of depression. Like in a sense, it's because now I'm seeking a high to avoid a low, right? And so when the high comes down, right, the low hits.
Yeah.
So the high is aside, like okay, he's going out to party, he's going out to drink, he's going out to party. All of a sudden,
or even when you're doing it more than usual.
Than usual, exactly.
Or like constantly going out, constantly drinking,
constantly
splurging to buy something.
Yes,
you know what I'm saying? Like stuff like that.
Yeah. And so I know for me, knowing my trigger, like going on trips is a high. And I'm usually doing that. I am usually willing to. I love it. Don't get me wrong; it's a very normal thing. But usually, with when I'm doing that, I am doing it. Something is going on, and I'm trying to like. I need a minute. and it's not even a minute to recuperate. But I noticed that I started wanting to take trips by myself, and I want to go alone. Like, make sense? And at the end of the day, it's still gonna, you still gotta come back.
So with the question there, with you saying I need the trips, I need to go alone. When you go alone, you've had moments where you still get depressed. So is that still doing what it's supposed to do by going alone?
But it's normally when I got to return.
But you said you were just out, and then you know what I mean. And next you know it hit.
I know it was the day before I was coming back. So it's like it's even like it was like and that has been a constant. Like when I say a constant, like you know, like if I'm out with you all, everything's good. I'm vibing, I'm kicking it, whatever, cool, whatever it was.
Right.
But on the way back home, it's just like whatever it is. You know, so it's just being mindful of to be mindful of just triggers. And it's very difficult to be mindful of. It's very difficult if you don't know the trigger. And to your point, what you said earlier, John and Mike, I think what you're saying is true because I think therapy exists because wise counsel does not exist in abundance. If wise counsel existed in abundance, would we even need therapy? Like, you know, like, so it's almost like, that's why I think we need therapy, because you almost need, you need doctors because poor health is in abundance and proper health is not in abundance. You need a dentist because proper care of the teeth and know how to do that is not common knowledge. So you need a dentist, and you almost need a lifelong dentist. So I look at a therapist as almost as like health, and mental health is just as serious as physical health, because mental health can control the physical health. Right? It really can, more than I used to think.
So,
right?
so Jasmine John said something earlier, and she said that's so important. We were talking about something earlier. She said, I sometimes just carry it around because the people close to me are Christian too. And I'm like, well, Jesus said not to worry. And nowadays everyone has anxiety. I didn't want to seem like a cliche. The reason I brought that up was because I wanted to know, is any of this, do you think, a spiritual portion, or do you even tease that out in these discussions? Because back in the day, that people would say, oh no, this is the depression, anxiety, these are things of the enemy, these are things that the enemy wants to sift you as wheat, etc. And they would loop this all in and say you just need to get delivered. That will be the terminologies that will be used and utilized in that space.
And so, day, John, it's even current.
Yeah, that's,
I mean, I haven't heard it recently. I haven't heard it recently. I've heard more people saying go to therapists than I've heard say go to church. I have. I don't know what y'all experience has been.
So I'm experiencing, like, because I interact with different cultures, and certain cultures of people and ethnic backgrounds are very religious. And so, like, I have a student who I could tell instantly, not only does she have a disability, because they're like that even with regular disabilities. This student has a severe disability. She is not going to be able. She's not. It is so severe that this student was not even diploma bound. But because you were so religious and you were so, no, that can't exist for my child, whatever it is, she can't seek the proper. She's not getting the proper help. She's not getting the proper service, and she's not even in the proper educational program to best help her. Okay. Because you thinking it doesn't. You know what I'm saying? It doesn't
correlate, right?
It doesn't correlate because that's, you know, whatever it is. So that's what I'm saying. Like, it's not even just, it's even current. Like, you know, like
I'm just wondering. I mean, I'm seeing Jasmine saying some of it's the enemy, spiritual warfare is real, but some of it's not. I'm always like, okay, this is one of those things. Like, how do you tease that out? Like, how do you know which one it is? I mean, not to go into another topic. I know we got the wrap soon, but I'm trying to say these things because these are the things that are the questions. These are the things that are like, yo, all right, I think I might be depressed. Now that I have teased out that I might be depressed, do I go to a therapist or do I go to church?
Yeah, it's both. Faith without works is dead.
So you go to both, you say?
You do both. I think as a believer, you do both.
I agree. I agree. It is both spiritual and practical things that we can do to address say anxiety or depression or mental health disparities, right? The practical things or impractical things that we do that cause us to go down these bouts of depression and anxiety can be used as tools of the enemy, right? To attack us spiritually too. It's like finding a hole in the armor of a warrior, right? Like when you see that small ounce of, oh, hey, this person has self-doubt, or this person is constantly looking at I don't know, social media to try to compensate for something. Let me try to throw something in there to throw them off of their walk with God. And that's kind of how Christian counseling plays into that. It helps you identify those things that could potentially be cause you to become veer off track from the God's will for your life type thing. But at the same time, like I said, it's both. It's not just spiritual warfare. There are practical things that we're doing, or impractical things that we're doing, that's causing us to go down these routes. And it takes both. It takes tackling from both ends.
Love it.
Yeah.
Terrence, any final words? Because you've actually been very honest and transparent about your journey and what you've been going through. And I appreciate that lens that you're coming from. Kim just said, and the church needs to address mental health more. I believe mental health professionals are tools that God has placed us with to help us be more mentally healthy. And I'm guessing you concur with that thought process, but please feel free.
No, yeah. So I agree. I mean, the only thing I would say is like I like what Mike said, like because Mike, he has a message in Christian counseling, right? And so as a believer, I think it is I think there's a place where both exist.
Mm-hmm.
Like makes sense. Like I think, I like the idea of seeking out like a counselor who does have the same faith as you or whatever it was, because but because they have some type of tools that extend like that. I mean, they're just that God has like blessed them with. I don't see there's anything wrong with it. I think mental health in general is I like the fault of the church needs. I like it. I think, but I just think we are also subject of prisoner of society, and society does not do a good job with mental health. Like we don't. And as much as we like it as the church, like, so when you say the church, I'm looking at it as church, like the building, like an actual building. So like the building leadership, like pastors and church, whatever it was, they need to do a good job at governing their sheep and getting involved in mental health, whatever. But also we're the church. And so like outside of that aspect, I'm just like, we gotta, if it's, we're all social beings, like, and so it's kind of, separation of church and state is cute. It doesn't really exist though. It really doesn't. Like we think it does, but we're at some capacity. If you go to a church institution in America, it follows principles and rhetorics and whatever it is that are mirrored by what's going on socially around it, right? And so if mental health is a new thing right now, then mental health is going to be a thing in the church. If this is a new buzzword, then this is going to be a buzzword in the church. Everybody uses tools and tactics, whatever, et cetera, et cetera. So I can't just blame the church. I'm going to say, as a society, as an American society, we suck at mental health. And to me, across the board, and the last thing I'll say, this kind of goes back to the verses like, this is the same thing that becomes a political battle. We need to focus on mental health. No, we need to stop people carrying guns. You can chew gum and at the same time.
Chew gum at the
same time. You can fix both. Both are a problem, right? Mm-hmm. And so you can work on your faith and still work on your practical skills of protecting your mental health, right? Yeah. You can do both at the same time. Mm-hmm. And I just think like we do one size fits all too much, and I just can't.
Yeah. I'm glad we had this conversation. We've actually had this conversation before, but it's been years since we had the conversation of mental health. And
it's been years. Let that sink in for a second. We've had our podcast, I think, for like 3 years now.
It's been 3 years since 2019. Last thing Kimberly said, there are some church bodies that are discussing mental health more and actually hiking mental health check-in. I guess you said check-in and check uncle, and conferences, seminars with professionals to help take away the negative stigma of mental health and therapy amongst Christians.
I love it.
And that's good. I'm glad that there are churches that are doing that. I think it's important. Yeah. I think the church is, the last to do a lot of things. So I'm not bashing the church. It's just honesty. They just really are the last to embrace the mental health agenda and the things. And I think we just have to be careful to, like Terrence said, is to look at it and say, hey, there's some validity in looking at my health. As you said, I like that you added it as like an arsenal of like, I need a dentist, I need a doctor, I also need somebody for my mental health. You know, I like that you added that to the arsenal of what we need, but especially for the men, the black men that listen to this podcast, and we're 3 black men, right? So we're trying to figure out how to navigate, and I'm probably going to be on the cusp of going into the therapy as well, just to see what advantage it can have. And the thing about it is, we have to be kind of like, well, what could it hurt? You know, like what could it really?
That's what it was for me.
You know, what could it really
me.
do that could be like, man, I should definitely not do this because it's going to hurt me. Knowing more about myself and knowing how I do things, and what are the I like to look at it as the blind spots. Like there's in every car there's a blind spot that you can't see. So, you know, obviously that would be hopefully what a therapist will like shine a light on and say, hey, you can't see this blind spot, you know, but this is something that's in your life that you need to deal with. So loving the conversation today, guys. This is a dope conversation about mental health in the Black community. So guys, thank you so much for chiming in. All the women on here talking about, yeah, we need mental health. We sick of y'all black men, y'all trash. Y'all didn't say that today, but y'all normally would say that today. Y'all normally would say that in any other podcast, but y'all didn't say it today. Thank God. We're not trash today because we talked about mental health.
Thank you.
Thank you guys so much for checking out the podcast today. Terrence, thank you so much for your transparency, man. Again, we really appreciate that level of transparency. Really I think dope, man. It's helping you because you're way better of a person than you used to be. I mean, I hated you as well at first, and now I'm starting to embrace you as the person that you're becoming. The truth
comes out.
Yeah, like, you know, I didn't understand why he had a beard. It's weird. So anyway, guys, thank you so much for checking out the podcast, man. We appreciate all of your love and support. My name is John.
My name's Mike.
And I changed my mind, John. You're all right.
You know what? You waited too late.
No, it's
too late.
True,
I don't want no takesy backsies. I don't want you to be. I don't want to be your friend no more. Bye, guys. Thank y'all so much.